What was it like at the time you got involved, and what attracted you to this?
I started off as a club DJ. Originally, I used to carry boxes for a sound system in northwest London, like just a box boy. That's where you hump the records into the club.
Record feeder.
Yeah, you just do that for free, and you're humping the big speakers in there, setting up, and then what was happening is that early part of a party, like if it was in a house or was it in like a hall, like a community hall, none of the DJs would want to play while there was nobody there. So that's when I used to jump on the decks, and that's when I got the real love for it. Just putting on records and like just being a DJ, even though there was like nobody in the dance. So from there, I had a job as a glass collector in a club called Gossips in the West End of London.
Sorry, what was that? A glass
collector. What a glass collector is like, I mean, if you're in a party and you're drinking, you're getting your drink on, you put your glasses down, there's like some kid on like, no money at all, collecting those glasses and washing them and putting them back behind the bar. So that's how I was just running around clubs the whole time as a kid. And then from there, I got an opening to be the warm-up DJ at that club. And that club had two great DJs in. It had David Rodigan, who's quite a legendary reggae DJ back home. I think in a lot of ways, people don't really know Rodigan then as as the force that he was back in the day. But as a kid, I grew up listening to Rodigan on Capital Radio. And at that time, there was no pirate radio back home. So, that was your only outlet for reggae music. And that was at the era when reggae was being called ragga, at the era of like Yellow Man.
Yeah.
Yellow Man, then came Shabba Ranks and the whole DJ thing off the back. And so I was his warm-up DJ at Gossips, and as a young kid, that was just...
What were you playing back then?
I mean, I was like warming up for Rodigan. I'd play reggae. It was like reggae, and also the other thing back home was it was called jazz funk, which was sort of I don't know. It was like just like soul music and shit like that. Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross, and James Brown. So that's what we were spinning in the clubs at the time. And there was another DJ called Steve Walsh as well, who was like a very big DJ at that era. May he rest in peace. And what happened off the back of that? That was just as hip hop started to happen, that was it was a real street club, real ghetto spot, and the crowd wanted the hip hop. So I just started playing more and more of it, and then suddenly that was an early hip hop club, and I was a hip hop DJ. So it wasn't like a conscious decision, but it was just like following what was going on with the party I was playing. So that was Gossips, and that was like my early years. And then just looking at like my sort of club history there, we used to do then a Saturday lunchtime at a club called Spats, which was actually a gay club, but they used to let us hire it Saturday lunchtime 12 till 3, and that was like, we used to play nothing but like electro, and that was nothing but like 4 hours of lunchtime break dancing, body popping, and all of that. And one thing which I always remember in my career now, to see how big hip-hop is now, it's like I've done hip-hop when it was small, and I've done hip-hop when it was broke and nothing was going on for anyone. And I certainly love it as it is now. I mean, I definitely respect it back then, but to see how big and powerful and how rich it is now, I think that's I think that's the real revolution which hip-hop has given us, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And then from there, I went to work at People's Club. I mean, I was doing a lot of other parties in London, but People's Club, what was great about People's Club, like Gossips, where the guy who owned Gossip, he was like the first black guy in London to own a club.
Gotcha.
And he gave me my opportunity. And then...
what year are we talking about here?
Man, it must have been like 80, 81. That's when we started out. And then Count Subtle was the dude who owned the People's Club. And the People's Club was like, it was legal for 2 years, and then it was illegal for like 18 years.
Why?
Well, he lost its license, but he used to bribe the police. So that party used to start at 10, used to get full about 4 in the morning, and then finish about 12 midday Friday. And that's where I really learned how to DJ. And what was important at that time, Jive Records had their studios, Battery Studios, up in Willesden. And groups like Houdini used to come over to London and record for 4 months. Run DMC used to come over and record. Beastie Boys was always over, and they used to come every week to this spot. So that's where I really, you know, we had those enormous artists in this sort of real ghetto spot. It was crazy. It was like the early days of sort of crack cocaine there as well. And I remember, like, you know, 6 in the morning, there'd just be this cloud of coke over the whole place, man. And it was, but as a young guy growing up in that, it was like, you know, I certainly learned a lot about hip hop just being with those artists. And at that time, I was on LWR. LWR was one of the early pirates. To tell you just a bit about the pirate technology, was that those early pirates like Invicta and Horizon, which were the first pirates back home, they were very much controlled by like these white guys who were from Essex, which is out of town. And LWR managed to get the technology on how to build a transmitter, and that was the first like street-owned, street-run station, and that was like the sort of, you know, founding father for all the pirates back home. And the pirate scene is perhaps the most important sort of scene out there in the UK. It's real hot with the DJs. All the DJs come through the pirates, and you know, LWR just showed like other guys that they could do it as well, and soon that technology became available. So we used to broadcast like every day. There was also a loophole in the law as well.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. Like, how could you go on?
What happened? I mean, it's illegal now, and they'd be shutting you down, and some people have even been sent to prison, and there's a lot of fines. But it still thrives. Mostly, they just take the transmitters off the roof, and it's a go. Sometimes they bust the studios, but they rarely bust the DJs. But in the era of LWR,
and we're talking about what year?
This would have been like 83, around that era. In the era of LWR. There was this loophole in the law that if you broadcast from private property, the police couldn't bust you. Somebody found this, some guy had researched this and found this out. And as a result, everyone was broadcasting from their crib. And like nobody was getting raided. So we were like legal stations for like 2 years. And
then they changed the law.
Then they changed the law, and then they started it.
How instrumental was pirate radio station in getting music out there? Or was that kind of music available in stores, in shops? Did you have artists at the time, I'm talking about the real early 80s, perform in the UK? Or was it the other way around?
I mean, like, what used to happen is, like, you know, the records would come in to the specialist stores. Certain stores were known for, like, hip-hop, you know, and on the Pirates, it'd be mostly, like, club DJs. So, you know, it'd be, like, you know, what guys were doing in the clubs and the parties would be what they'd be doing on the radio. But there wasn't much hip-hop in those days. I used to do like a drive time show on Pirate, Monday to Friday, 4 till 6, and we used to broadcast from North Peckham Estate, which like was a notorious estate out in South London.
What from your experience, you know, warming up for some of the big DJs or playing the odd hours, what was the value in that for you that you got out of that?
I mean, to be honest, like, you know, this place is not really full of established DJs yet, so I'm sure that you'll all have to play your position over the time. I think being a warm-up DJ is a tremendous skill, and I think it's very important that you play your position. Sometimes you have to play the back. You know, if I bring over Funk Flex to the UK to DJ for me, or other DJs like Cypher Sounds or Max Glazer, and I'll start the session, I ain't gonna crush those DJs and play all the hits and play records which are prime time at 10 in the, you know, 10 in the evening. Those are like, you know, main set records. Let the main DJ do him and play them at 1 o'clock or whatever. So I think it's important, if you are warming up, that you play your position right. And I'm real busy.
And to know your place.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm real busy as a DJ back home, and we're out there grinding real hard. And I always travel with my own DJs. I mean, I've got my own DJ crew, and they always open up for us. But we always leave time afterwards for the local guy to get on and shine. And that's important, because I'll learn a lot about what records he's playing and what he's doing in his part of town. And he'll help me understand, you know, how people are getting down in Manchester or Birmingham or Glasgow or Edinburgh or wherever. So, you know, when I was up at Carfax, my man Dre, he opened up for us just so, you know, I could do me and I wouldn't be undermined in what I had to do. And then afterwards, you know, the local DJs from Joburg, they, you know, they played from 2 till 6. and I was real impressed with them.
You were saying that all that music was so important to you when you were getting into it, and you see these kids who are 17 to 19, and Biggie and Tupac is their old school. Don't you want to just grab them and play them a Slick Rick record and say, yo, check this
I
out?
don't, man, because that's not part of their era. That's not part of their lives. You know, it's a whole new game now. It's a whole new generation. You know, it's MTV. It's a whole new, you know, it's changed, man. It's moved on. And as much as I've got my memories and that music means so much to me and the people I was with at that time, I just keep it moving, man. And that's how I kept up, because, you know, I've been in the game all my life, like 20 years, man. And if I got stuck in one era, I wouldn't be here now. You know what I mean? I was with Russell Simmons the other day, and we were talking about, you know, this has been a beautiful journey, this hip-hop game. For, you know, it's been a beautiful experience, a beautiful journey in life, man. I met him on the second hip-hop record. That was the first hip-hop record. The second was Curtis Blow, Christmas Rapping. That's when I was out there as a club DJ, pirate DJ. I met him, and I've known him since then. And, like, now he's a billionaire. He's got swans in his garden, you know, he's some other, you know, he's on some other stuff. It's been an incredible journey, this hip-hop game.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Okay.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I just feel as a DJ, like, you reflect what's going on. And that means, like, to me, like, we're at the forefront of this game. You know, we help make 50 Cent enormous. We help make Eminem enormous, but we recognize that as heat, you know, and made that work.
Okay.
Do you want to pass the mic?
Yeah, just quick question. How do you balance moving with the times with something that you mentioned earlier on about responsibility towards crowd, right? And understanding the history of where this music comes from as well. Like, how do you balance that too?
I don't think it's a balancing act. I think you just got to realize now, today we're in, like, this is the hip hop generation. This is the hip hop generation we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, this is where we've come from, but this is certainly, you know, I'm dealing where we're at now. But I feel back home that young people have grown up in this hip hop game, from the, you know, from their first experience to music to now. And that's why hip hop is so powerful, and that's why it won't go away. You know, a lot of record companies talk about this being like a rap era for the next 5 years. This is no rap era. Those are the same people who said this hip hop game would never fucking last. Come on, man, it's the biggest form of music, the biggest artists, it's multi-billion industry, and it's a beautiful thing.
Okay. Next.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you were saying you move with the times, you move with the music. Do you still like the music that you play at the majority?
Man, I have a passion for this game. I have a passion. I love the game. I love the music. Shit excites me. Now, hearing a new 50 Cent track, which is hot, or a Dipset track, which is hot, excites me as much as the passion I had for Rapper's Delight. No question of that. Plus, I enjoy the game. Plus, Plus, I've learned how to handle business. And we'll pass the mic in a second. Let me just tell you about the business side of things. Like, I've learned a lot of artists. The artists come in the show and we really talk. My Friday show's only 2 hours long. When 50 Cent came in, he talked for 2 hours. I think we played 2 records. When Jay-Z comes in, I really want to learn from these guys. Jay-Z said he's 50% an artist, 50% a businessman. You know, on his new album, he talks about his whole concept. It was his marketing plan. You know, 50 Cent describes himself as a marketing genius before he talks about him being an artist. You know, you've got to understand the business to make it work for you. Don't get me wrong, you've got to have the talent and the passion, but that's only half the game, man. It's understanding the business. And I learned the business early from working with people like Marley Marl, you know, the hottest DJ of that era on WBLS. I learned from those artists of that era, and I've been learning ever since. People like LL Cool J, who's a close friend, he's come around my crib, sat down with me and schooled me. You know, Chuck D's talked to me. He's been to my crib, talked to me. Like Flex, I'm real close to Funkmaster Flex, who is the greatest DJ, in my opinion, in the world. He's elevated this DJ game beyond your wildest dreams. He's bigger than artists. You know what I mean? And it's like, you've got to be able to understand the business. And like, you know, it's in those early days where I was just happy to get on the set and do me and spin. man, I wouldn't have survived all these years in this game. And you know what I mean? I've been number one for a minute in the UK. You know what I mean? I've been number one for a minute. You know, and I've been through some, you know, realness with this as well, man. You know, I had to fight for everything I got, man. I haven't really been given a lot, man. I've been a bit of a lone soldier in those early days. Now I've got a whole family around me.
Move from pirate to I guess mainstream radio. Obviously, on pirate stations, you could play whatever the hell you wanted to. What happened on mainstream? Did you decide what you wanted to play, or did they
Yeah,
have
I mean,
a music programmer?
that's always been the given for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And the great thing, you know, even though I was mad at the time, just being on the radio for 15 minutes when I used to do like a daytime, drive time hip-hop show on the Pirates, I was only on 15 minutes at 3 in the morning. At least I made all my mistakes in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And so by the time, you know, I got my main slots, the time I moved to Radio 1, I'd really made all my mistakes already. I mean, I still get into trouble. I still fuck up a lot, and you know what I mean? But like a lot of those dumb mistakes I'd made early in the game, I made those on pirate radio.
Did you have any formal training?
Nah, I don't think there's. I don't think that. I mean, you just teach yourself, and then when you get together with people like Marley Marl, you know, and shit like that, and the New York. I was always very keen on listening to New York radio to see how they got down. I think New York hip hop DJs. I think American DJs in hip hop are some of the best in the world, without a doubt.
I'm really curious to know what you might feel is the new business model in this new day and age as far as music distribution, especially for a lot of these underground cats, because we have a lot of resources at our fingertips, digital format, also the ability to burn CDs really quickly, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to be asking a lot of the people who come up, you know, what their take on the new way of music distribution might be, or just like what you see as like a good way for artists to be putting music out.
I think that's a real good question. On the real, like, because I'm not in that side of the business, and I've deliberately kept away from being a record company or being involved in a record company just because I wanted to be able to do what I need to do. I'm not the person to ask, but there's a revolution definitely about to happen. It's definitely a great time to be an independent now that there's only 3 major record companies in the world. Well, there's 4. I think there's about to be 3. I think there's going to be a real revolution about to happen. But I think the revolution which has happened already in the past has been the joint venture. And I think that to me, the revolution of hip-hop has been the empowerment and getting people rich from the ghetto. People who've come from the street and now own multi-million-dollar businesses and companies. Like Jay-Z hustling on the corner, owning Rockefeller, worth $100 million, owning Rockaware, which is $200 million, as a joint venture. And I think that's been the power of hip-hop, and that's something I'd be loving. I'd be really, really respecting. So I think that's the existing business model is your joint venture where you get 50% of. I think where it's about to go, I don't know. But as you say, this bootlegging thing is definitely crazy out there. And I love that. If anyone ever bootlegs off my radio show, that's good for them. I've been in parties where I've played something that night, then I'm in a party later that night, and that DJ will be playing that off of a burnt CD. And I think that's a great thing. You do you.
You also got involved with production at some point.
Yeah, well, you know, when I was first in the game, and UK rap was starting to really jump off the first time around with the likes of Cookie Crew and Hijack, and groups like that. We produced some records ourselves. We produced the London Posse, who, you know, they had their moment out there. That era, we did a record called Money Mad, which
incidentally was Biggie in Cape Town.
Which was great to hear, man. Great to hear. And, you know, the thing with London Posse, they were rhyming in a UK, you know, a UK accent as opposed to an American accent, which was really happening at the time. And they were also talking, you know, in UK slang about the UK experience. So it's great that that record could come out here. We did Moni Love's first record. She was from the UK. And we did General Levy, which was like the ragga element on hip hop. And that was a label called Justice. And we did that for a while, but then I just found it too hard, to be honest. And also, like it put me on the wrong side of the fence, in my opinion, because I wasn't used to dealing with artists like that. I wasn't used to having that type of relationship. I didn't want to feel compromised. Like Money Mad, I never played on the radio once, but that was such a big record on the street. But I thought people would say, you know, I was
He's playing his own
supporting
record.
my own, you know, so. You know, it just didn't want. It wasn't where I wanted to be. Plus, it was real hard work. Plus, you know, UK rap never really jumped off either. One of the things I would say, just talking about Justice, that was my company as a record label, and then Justice became like my company now, Justice Entertainment, and like I do my radio show as an independent production company. I don't know if that's an option for you guys who are into radio. But that's where I work for Radio 1, but they pay me a production fee to deliver the radio. So I hire the studios, I hire my own team of, you know, people I work with, producers and, you know, broadcast assistants. So that's definitely one option to look at, as opposed to just working for the station directly. I work there as an independent production company, and that gives you a lot more control over your show and what you try and do. And another thing that I've done and has been very important to me is that I've got my own street team. And you know, a street team is a concept which is well established in New York. And it's also established back home now. But that street team promotes all my own parties for me and promotes the radio show, promotes the album. And I find that has been very important, because I think, you know, especially when you've been successful in this game, you have like a duty to give back. I think that's, you know, I think artists definitely have that, and I think also DJs who you know, who've made money out of the game, and that's one way of introducing people into the business. You know, we recruit the street team literally off the radio, from the street, from the clubs. And, you know, I've had people who've been in my street team, run my street team, got jobs as head of marketing at Def Jam. They've got jobs at One Extra. And, you know, it's from there I find the DJs who work with me. And, you know, one day I'm not going to be doing this forever, unfortunately. So one day, you know, I hope that my production company will still have the shows on Radio 1, and, you know, a hot DJ who I can nurture and bring up in the game through my street team, through my company, Justice Entertainment, get them put on as well. So I'd really, you know, I'd really recommend that. And also with me, that, like, we do a lot of parties, we get booked for a lot of parties, and we earn good money out of that. But all the parties I do myself, we don't look to earn money out of those. Like, we have real mad cheap admission prices. We normally let the ladies in for free, and that's illegal back home. And we've been in trouble over it a few times, but I don't care about that. It's equal opportunities. It's discrimination against men, apparently. So I mean, it's just how it goes. But like. Yeah. But with me, I've got to have women in the parties, otherwise it'll just be such a male-dominated thing, you know. And those parties, I look to break even, or even, I don't care if I lose money on that. And what you've got to understand about that is that, like, you know, if I've got a party in London, Birmingham, Bristol, or Manchester, which I promote myself, that enables me to have a street team who can work that. You know what I mean? And make that happen. And it also enables me to have like 30,000 leaflets out there with my name on it, my show times. And it just keeps you hot in the street. And nowadays, if you want to be successful on the radio, you've got to be hot in the street. If you want to be successful as a club DJ, you've got to be on the radio. Nowadays, it's such a competitive market for DJing. You can't just, in the days of Kid Capri running New York, and you know, you've got to be a flex. You've got to be on the radio. You've got to be doing mixtapes. You've got to be doing everything. You've got to work hard at this game. And not all of it makes money, man. Not all of it makes money. And use the money that you earn from elsewhere to subsidize other things that you need to do. You know what I mean? And so, like, my parties always break even or lose money. Ain't no thing.
Do you do mixtapes?
Yeah, we do street mixtapes, which we give away, and then I put these compilations out. And these are TV advertised albums that I do with Def Jam. And the whole compilation market is a big thing back home. This is like just 50 of the hottest joints on the street that you put together. There's quite a lot of politics in licensing those, because other labels do their own compilations, so it's all about trading tracks to get certain tracks. But because it's with Def Jam, I can get a lot, plus I can call in personal favors to get tracks as well. Plus I can put UK and reggae on there, which aren't part of that whole, you know, major record company business. But you know, this was like, this has been out for 3 weeks. It debuted at #1 in the compilation charts. It's in 2 weeks' time we're going to hit the gift market, and these shits go platinum. You know what I mean? This is all part of, like, promoting hip hop and also promoting like what I do, you know.
Just a bit of history. Where does Cold Cut and Roots Maneuver and DC Recordings and that come into the whole UK hip hop scene?
Well, I think Roots Maneuver had, I think, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, UK rap record of all time, and that was Witness. I thought that was a truly tremendous record. But what I will say, and I've said this to him, it's like, he's so lazy, man. I see him around in the, you know, not in the parties, but more at these, like some industry stuff. And where's the follow-up to that? Where's the next record? This game, if you're an artist, it's like you're a crack dealer. People will come to you when you've got the product. As soon as your product runs out, they'll go to the next crack dealer, and they'll forget about you. It's like you've just got to keep hitting people in the head. Look at 50 Cent. He was dropping mad freestyles. He gave away like 2 albums free before he dropped his album. Just keep, and then he's brought out G-Unit. You know, he ain't stopping. With Roots, the greatest artist out there, what has he done in the last 2 years? Do you know what I mean? You've got to be out there. It's like as a DJ, if you're not doing the parties, people will be coming to your parties. As soon as you stop, they'll be going somewhere else. People ain't going to stop going out if there's places to go. You just got to be out there working, man. As I say, it's like selling crack, man. You've got to have the product. You've got to keep putting it out there without a doubt. As for Cold Cuts, I don't even know where they're at. But when I was in Spats doing, like starting out in those early days, he used to come there with these crazy sunglasses on and this mad cloak. And he had some mad MC name. And he came from those days, so I respect him, man. I respect Cold Cut a lot.
Also did a brilliant remix of Paid in Full.
Yeah, no.
Actually better than the original.
Yeah.
You said before that you felt that you weren't responsible for teaching people about the history of music, and I used to work on Radio 1 on a specialist show with Giles Peterson, and the ethos of that programme was very much that you taught people about where the music comes from. People can always listen to current music and appreciate it, but they're never really going to appreciate it unless they know the history. So who in the UK is supposed to do that part of what I would see as your job?
See, I don't see that as my job. I don't know, like, who's telling me that's my job either. I'm there for the audience, man. I'm really there for the audience. I'm there for the people who love this music, want to come to the parties, want to get their enjoyment from hip-hop. I'm there for them. I'm there to promote this scene and make it as big as it can be. I've been there when it was, 20 people on a Saturday lunchtime at a club called Spats. I've done that small stuff. I want it to be big now, and I'm catering for that. I don't see I have to be the teacher in this game. I don't see that. And I think there is, if you want to, hip-hop has so many different styles and dimensions. If you want to research that and find that's there for you. That's there for you in the UK, and especially there in London if you want to find it. There's the B-Boy Championships. There's so many graffiti Hall of Fames that you can go to and be part of that scene. But I don't feel, for the young people who come to my parties, that I should be saying, this is how hip-hop's got to be because I'm from this generation of it. I just feel like people that have a right to come out and enjoy partying and being young and enjoy hip-hop and, hear a hot radio show, hear their favorite artists on the radio.
Okay,
I mean, if these old school artists want to come to town, I'd love to have them on the radio. But I'm not going to force, what I know down onto them. I feel that would be an arrogant attitude.
I didn't mean it in that way.
No, but
I
that's
meant
my perspective of me having to do that.
in most genres there is, young people really aspire to somebody who has experience like yourself. And generally, even with myself working with Giles for a couple of years, I aspired to him because he was willing to share all of his experience and knowledge, and he's been someone who's really taught other people how they can participate within the scene. That's what I meant. There doesn't seem to be someone...
Sorry, I misunderstood you. But with that's the role of my street team. That's my role in my street team. If you want to get into the game, that's definitely your way in. And I have street teams all over the country, and be there. I'll be showing you the business. I don't know, man. I'm not married. I don't have children. My whole focus is my work. Hip hop is my whole life. Sometimes I look at my street team like they're my children, And it's not like I treat them like my children, but I'm nurturing them, passing on my experience of this business and the lessons that I've learned to them. And like, you know, I really, as I say, some of those cats has done real well for themselves. Some of them haven't. Some of them, you know, are people who've never had a job, you know what I mean? So they don't understand the discipline and the responsibilities of work. But we also try and teach that as well through the street team. You know, we're pretty disciplined out there, and it's hard work as well.
Are there on-air alternatives for people to tune into the earlier stuff in the UK if they wanted to listen to, let's say, the Peter Pipers or the Wrath of Canes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's DJs who do that for sure.
Yeah.
You know, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's DJs and there's like Itch FM, and that's a pirate who does good work. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not out there strong.
It's sort of hard to really gauge what the role what your responsibility might be. You know, you say you have this responsibility to do what's hot, right? But then it gets into sort of like a circular game in which you have the ability to influence change, but you also feel like you need to be playing what the audience likes. But the audience likes...
No, I want to be, let me be really specific. A lot of stuff that we've broken back home.
I understand.
You know, we broke 50 Cent. I ain't going to front about that. We really were instrumental in making that happen back home.
Mm-hmm.
We broke Eminem.
Yeah.
Instrumental, and we've done that with UK artists, and we've done that with a lot of different artists up there. It's not just like, oh, 50% is real popping, now we're going to jump on it. We've been instrumental in making that happen.
No doubt, and I believe...
And
well,
you know, the show, I want to be mad real with you, what we do is mad cutting edge for the UK. We aren't a self-perpetuating circle of, you know, we just play what's hot, and what's hot's on the radio, and that makes it hot amongst the audience, and then we play that again. I'm not a daytime radio DJ, you know what I mean?
And I don't particularly believe that that's what you're about. I'm just saying that the questions seem to be leading in that direction, but I feel personally that what you're doing is also just a product of what you believe is right and what you think is proper. Now, what the response...
to be honest, I can't do anything more than that. Do what I believe
Understood.
in. You know what I mean?
So what I also, which also brings me back to that other question I had, in which the new formats and how people get their music out. My personal belief is that it's the responsibility of the artists to be on top of their game so that they can, you know, because everything is in a constant change, in a constant flux. And therefore, you know, it's not your responsibility per se to be that person. It's the artist's responsibility to be that 50% to get their stuff out there, to you know, interject into what's going on. And I believe that perhaps maybe you might be able to be pushing these guys. I mean, if these people are coming to you, like, who's the newest artist right now that you guys are breaking? What's the cutting edge in right now for the UK as you see it?
What, like stateside
Gonna
artists?
pass them, okay, at the back and then...
Whomever.
Say again?
Whomever.
Okay, all right. We're trying to, right. I would say Little John is real hot right now, and we're really supporting Little John and the Dirty South Sound, and we're trying to make that happen back home. We're definitely supporting like all the dancehall movement which is happening and making that as big as we can. And you know, the artists that we'd be loving at the moment, D Block, Dipset, be riding with those as well. I mean, I don't really feel I have, like, I'm a DJ, I'm in the entertainment business. This is what I does, man. And the position I play going out, you know, with the amount of people who listen to us and the parties that we do, this is how I see it, this is how I define myself, this is what I do. You know what I mean? And I feel it would be arrogant of me to start saying, right, I need to take control of the scene and school it in the old school, or teach it this or teach it. I don't see that role. I don't see that role at all. And I don't think I would have survived in this game for so long. You know, if I wasn't getting the figures that I get on Radio 1, I wouldn't be on Radio 1. Do you know what I mean? I ain't on a 10-year contract. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if my parties weren't full, if I weren't hitting out there, if this shit wasn't selling what it sells, I wouldn't have this deal. You know what I mean? It's just like, I just feel I'd done hip hop when it was small, and I'd done hip hop when it was broke, and I did that for many, many years. I think the empowerment of hip hop now is a beautiful thing. People getting rich out of it. I'm not talking about myself, but how big it is now. And now the UK, all we need now is the UK artists to step up. That's all we need now back home. And we need the UK to support it as well, because UK artists are not supported by the local scene. You know, if I'm at a party, if Westwood's there and there's 20 UK artists performing at another party, you know, that party ain't going to be full, man. In fact, it might even be empty.
Do you have UK hip hop artists performing at some of your parties?
Yeah,
Parties?
without a doubt. But we tend to do more things like open mic sessions and shit like that.
Okay.
You don't think it's a dangerous movement towards that the small record stations, that the small radio stations and even the small record labels, they look after the big markets and they see, you know, what's hot or whatever or what's selling. We have to do this as well because otherwise nobody will listen to our station. And then they would not give space to, like, you know, people who would set in tapes which are maybe not even released, like stations, you know, just like stations who would have like no commercials on, you know. They wouldn't care about, like, you know, who's putting commercials into their show, but they even play maybe for 60% the same stuff than the big stations play. Like, you don't think it's dangerous a little bit, like, to, you know, like level that up to this, you know?
I can't really talk about other radio stations because
I mean, it's happening, right? That the small stations, like, look what the big stations play, and then they do it as well because they want to have listeners. I mean,
it's certainly happening in Cape Town.
No, the way I would see that, the pirate stations back home ain't going to play the same music that Radio 1's playing, because Radio 1 is playing that music.
So that's good. Is this good?
Without a shred of a doubt, I think the pirates are so important. We've got a station called One Extra. My man Jay Flex is up here tomorrow talking. He's on that. You know, they don't play what the mainstream play. You know, they're making, you know, they're playing what they believe in. So, you know, and I think it's a great time to be independent out there, because if you know, if you're with a major, you know, you need a $1 million video, you need a $1 million marketing budget, and all of that. Whereas a major can just put out, an independent can just put out records and make it happen.
The business that you spoke of, from what I understood, was strictly major marketing business. When
Not at all.
Well,
not at all.
Let me finish the question.
But I wouldn't say that was at all.
Because I'm on both sides. I produce major artists that you probably play, as well as independent, more creative, controlled things as well. And I'm not hating on either side. I just want to get it a little bit more clear, I think, for the guys that are here, because most of the people that are here may not look to that as a venue, because these are people who I think maybe are probably more independently writing their things, or maybe looking to distribute as well. And I think a lot of things that I took from what you were saying were strictly major situations, like breaking Eminem and, I mean, 50 Cent and those kind of things. I think you don't break an artist like that. That's $1 million marketing things that are going to work regardless of what DJ plays it.
I would totally agree with you over there. That
maybe,
shit was going to happen.
London. I've been to London.
No. I totally agree with that. When I was saying that, maybe I should, like, put it a different way. Is like, say with Eminem, because I knew, damn dude's name. I knew Paul Rosenberg, his manager, because he represented another artist, Milo, who I know well. I got My Name Is, like, a year early before he had the deal, before he got with Dre and all of that. And I was playing that every week, making that real hot. So when he came, he was really set up. With 50, I was riding with him on all those bootleg freestyles that he was putting out, all the shit with the mixtape. So we were playing 50 when Cats Back Home was not feeling him. We were supporting that from day one. So we was on that mad early. That's what I mean. Without a shred of a doubt, those artists would have happened irrespective of my role in that game. We were just on those mad early. And to talk about just major marketing, I would say that what we do, like, I'm not a radio station. I'm just a DJ with who plays, like, you know, 5 hours over the weekend. That's all that's what I do.
Power.
But, like, well, I don't see it as power. I just see, like, I'm just, you know, I'm just a DJ doing me. But what I'm trying to say about the marketing aspect, my street team, that is the mad hand-to-hand street marketing. That's you know, leaving flyers at the local nail shop, barber shop, food takeaway, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what that is. And my parties are, you know, if we were to show the tape more, you would have seen what my party's about. And you know, that street marketing and the street team activity is exactly what it is. It's nothing to do with the majors. That's just how we make ourselves hot on the street. And that's what we, you know, and we support that heavily. And like, if we were to use that to, you know, we use this to promote something like this, which is a TV advertised album, but if we were to use that to support a local artist, we'd help that artist get an awareness out on the street. So, you know, this isn't some major thing. I ain't hooked into the majors. I don't work for any of the record companies. I ain't a consultant or any of that bullshit. I've always said no to that money.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make the comment that I think
And I respected
a
that.
lot of the things as business equates to money, and it has nothing to do with music, which is where I think my problem with a lot of the ethics of maybe your street team. You say you have street team that a lot of these guys goes to other labels, or they
No,
go to
no,
other,
my
or they-
guys, we don't work for other labels. We
No,
don't
not
work
the
for
labels, but I mean, you said they've acquired other jobs at other businesses.
Oh yeah, well,
the
they just
same things.
moved
I
on in
think
their career.
If you have 10 people that work and they're all listening to only popular music and they're going to other businesses that they're expanding what they do, then you have 10 other situations that are doing the same thing that you're doing. Where's the voice for the people who don't have that? I think there is a
Well,
responsibility for that.
Yeah, and back home there's a lot of DJs, a lot of radio shows, a lot of pirate stations who cater for all of that.
Yeah.